What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. We talked about it yesterday that Darren Waller may be coming to practice soon. Coach McDaniel tried to hedge his bets where he said, I think in my mind he'll be practicing soon, but I don't want to say that for sure. In a very, tongue tidy kind of Mike McDaniel way. And this morning he was activated off of the pup list, which means that he's eligible as of today to come back to practice. It doesn't mean that he's going to, it's just that now he's eligible to do so. You couldn't practice until you get off the pup list. Typically, you have like a runway of time to be activated, and then if you don't play in that time, then you go to the list again. It becomes a whole situation. But that's irrelevant. He's been activated, and the expectation is that he is going to practice this week. That's what we predicted, right? When Coach McDaniel was like being coy about, I don't know, is he going to practice? Is he not? We knew the vibes. Of course, Drew Rosenhaus came out and said, Darren's been working really hard. He's going to crush it. He's going to be ready for week one. We got it, Drew. We got it. You got to do your job. You've already been paid, but I guess he's trying to get more clients. We understand that. But the fact that he's now been activated means we can stop speculating about when he's going to come back. Now we know what's happening now. That also means that he's not injured, which has been kind of my sneaky suspicion that not only was he not in like football shape, meaning cardiovascular wise, but I thought maybe he had some kind of nagging thing in the offseason that they were trying to give him more time to heal from. But if he's back in practice this week, then I guess he's not hurt. He may have just been deconditioned, which, yeah, I get that. You haven't been playing football. Really excited to see him on the field this week. What a good time to come back. The Jags defense is not particularly good, and our secondary is not great, like at this moment. So whoever he goes against over the next few days is actually like it's a easier way to ease into it. He's not coming in and playing like who has a good secondary. I don't know, Baltimore maybe or the Chiefs. Like he's not playing one of those people. He's coming in. Our secondaries we're beat up in the secondary. We get that. Jacksonville is trying to get better in the secondary. I don't believe he'll be matched up with Travis Hunter at any point. So I don't know what other corners and safeties they have of note. I think this is a good time to come back. And this gives us a chance to really see him ramp up. I hope he comes back today so he can practice against our team. And then Thursday, the joint practice, which we'll get into later on, against the Jags. So you can actually see him against both. Because if he just shows up against the Jags, so we haven't run him through anything, and if he just practices with us and misses the Jags practice, we won't get to see him against a different opponent. So I would love for him to get some work today, which we'll find out in a few hours. Get some work today, and then tomorrow when we do the joint, get some work over there, and then we can see one how sore he is at the one workout. Because that's the thing, you might go into it feeling healthy, but until you go through practice and get a couple of those bumps off the line, like we're not going to be taking him out in practice, but there is contact, there is physicality. He may wake up tomorrow and be like, my body is whooped. And then maybe Thursday he doesn't do anything. Or if he wakes up, it's like, do I feel great? I feel revitalized. Cool. That means that we're in a good place. And now you go against a different team. You can go a little bit more all out. That's really what I want to see. Because against us, this is like a training wheel situation. Like he's got three wheels right now. So I can't fall. Of course you can't. We're holding you up. Against Jacksonville, training wheel comes off. You got a different opponent. Every time it's a joint practice, people start chirping. People want to scrap. It's going to happen. So I'm really curious what Darren looks like on the field. Hopefully, we see a couple highlights later on today, and then we can really start putting a game plan together and see what he can do for us. This is not a sexy story at all, but necessary. So Jake Bailey has won the punting job over Ryan Stonehouse. We did a story on Ryan Stonehouse probably 2 months ago. Some of you probably won't even remember it yet, so I can give you a little bit of background. So the Dolphins special teams coordinator is Craig Ackerman, who came from the Tennessee Titans, right? He used to Coach McDaniel back in the day. Was with Tennessee for the last few years. We brought him over here. Ryan Stonehouse was a punter for the Titans, and then the Titans didn't want to renew him, so we brought him in. So the idea was, okay, you got the former Titans coach with the guy the Titans drafted to play punter, and you bring him to your new team. It seemed like, yeah, Ryan's going to be the punter. That makes sense. Ryan is a weird punter because he punts really, really far, but he punts like flat. So he outkicks his coverage, for lack of a better term. Which you think, oh, he had a 55-yard punt. That's awesome. But if it's like an ellipse versus like a parabola kind of shape, the punter catches the ball with yards, so they can eat up the yards that he got in his punt. So his average like punt return from the other team is actually really high. He gives up a lot of return yardage. What's better is 45 yards, but more hang time. That's why you'll see the hang time graphic when there's a punt, and they'll say anything like over 4 seconds is pretty good. If that kick is coming in at 2.8, 3 seconds of hang time, that return man is flying up the field. Got a full head of speed. The coverage team is like, how do you get the ball already? So Ryan Stonehouse has been one of the deepest, like longest punters of all time. Multiple years, 50 yards a punt, crushing it. But he couldn't get the hang time. And when he first got brought in by the Dolphins, Craig basically said, hey, I think if we can get a little bit more hang time from this guy, we can have the best punter in the league. The guy that kicks the furthest and gets the most hang time. If you watch the games last year, Dolphins not good on special teams outside of field goal kicking. Not good in punt coverage, not good in punt kicks, not good in kickoff distance. Like we were middle of the pack to low end of the pack last year in all these categories. And those are like hidden yards that really sink you as a team. Where if you punt the ball and they get a 12-yard return, maybe they called the punt at the 10-yard line, but now they're over to past the 20. So it's like, well, we didn't really flip the field position. They got the ball where they would have gotten it for a touchback versus, oh, we pinned them inside the 15, inside the 10. Now our defense has the advantage. But when you constantly are giving up yards throughout the game, you're not ever really getting an advantage. And sometimes you're in a super disadvantage if they get a return out past the 30 or 40 and your defense is not particularly like staunch, whatever. Now they're 15, 20 yards away from a field goal. So we brought Ryan in to ideally remedy that. And we already had Jake Bailey, who, the fact that we brought Ryan in means that we weren't like elated with Jake. But evidently, Jake just did his job. Like he locked in. He was more consistent. He had better hang time. Um, he improved from last year, and Ryan didn't improve in the areas that we wanted him to improve on. This was Ryan's job to take. We offered him money. He had his coach. We had a need on the team. I don't know how he fumbled the bag, and that's like in a weird way to say that for a punter. But he said, "I'm gonna lock into my hang time. I know that's the one thing I don't do well." And we called this job a week early. We could have waited another week until like the third preseason game to determine who was going to be our punter. We called it early. We said, "No, we've seen enough." It's like we got 2 more rounds to go. No, you don't. It's over. Like it's that we just called it early, which means that it wasn't particularly close, which is actually kind of concerning for Ryan because there's not like a surplus of punters in the league. I don't imagine he will be out of the league. He might end up back on the Titans. He might end up as the backup punter, which means he's getting like league minimum basically. But the idea that they gave this job to the incumbent who they were trying to replace early when they brought you in with every advantage in the world and you didn't get the job means that he really wasn't performing. And so shout out to Jake for, holding down his position. But Ryan, we wish you the best. As I mentioned before, Dolphins have a joint practice on Thursday against the Jags. We're going to see how this matchup is versus Detroit. First of all, Jacksonville is not a good team. Nope. I think they're picked to finish third or fourth in their division pretty confidently. They're not. They're just not a good team, right? They might be better than they were last year, but they weren't good last year either. There's a whole thing about Trevor Lawrence that people think he's good. Sometimes he's been mostly not good. That's fine. Most of us like Travis Hunter. We'll see the two-way play game situation. Here's what we're looking for in this particular matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars actually have decent targets to throw the ball to. We know Brian Thomas Jr. Dude, if you're drafting in fantasy, even if you hate the quarterback, get Brian Thomas. Because Brian Thomas seems to just get money. He got money with mac and cheese last year, and I don't know how that's possible. Mac Jones is out here throwing duck balls and picks, fumbling. Somehow Brian Thomas, you look up, 5 catches, a buck 10, and a touchdown. He was consistently getting money. Brenton Strange is a underratedly good tight end. Like he doesn't play a ton in their package. I know like they had Evan Ingram and him. They were split in time, but I know Strange was actually getting a little bit of money late in the year. He's a fantasy scooper for people who their starting tight end wasn't great. Like he really held people down. And of course Travis Hunter, we know what we think he can be. Like maybe a this is gonna sound crazy, like a great value version of Justin Jefferson initially, and then he can grow into a better receiver. But the way he runs his routes reminds me of how Justin Jefferson runs routes. And then Travis Etienne out of the backfield is just he's fast. It's just like he's fast. I don't think he's like the greatest running back receiver, but he catches the ball and he's fast. And if you don't get a good angle, he'll be out of there. So once again, Back to the secondary. This is not as to me a daunting matchup as Detroit. Detroit to me is like a doomsday matchup for where the Miami Dolphins are today. Maybe late in the year, they won't be. Today, nightmare matchup. And as we saw in the practice, nightmare matchup. I think this is a chance for the Dolphins to reestablish some identity. The Jags have a new coach. They have a bunch of new guys on the offensive line. They're trying to figure out their identity. They, in some respects, are kind of where we are. Like Trevor Lawrence and Tua are near the same age. They both are top five picks. Both people feel some kind of way about both of them. Both of them have been paid. Uh, we have good receivers. They have at least one great receiver. We have a couple. Like offensive line for them, we will see. Offensive line for us, like there's a lot of similarities here. No reason for the Dolphins to feel like we're punching up or this is some team out of our league. We should be able to go in there and feel like we should be able to win this matchup, and we should be able to do what we want to do. I don't think the Jags defense can stop our offense. I'm not even really concerned what the offense does. I'm still looking at the running back matchup, Jalen and Ali. Be watching y'all because Devon is obviously not playing with his calf injury, which means those two should get a bunch of carries. I want to see them both get 12 to 15 carries each. There's no reason to just go out there and throw the ball a lot. Like Zach, I think pretty much has the backup role secured, unless there's rumblings I haven't heard about. So I would think Quinn will play most of the game. Maybe Zach will get a drive or two. I expect Quinn to run the rest of the show, and then the running backs, I would even have them do different drives. Because you bring someone in like in the fourth quarter, and they're going against fourth and maybe even like borderline fifth string guys, and then they're running for hundreds of yards. Like that's not fair. Let me get them drive by drive. So they're kind of going to get similar competition to determine what they do. But this should be a matchup where the Dolphins can recalibrate, reassert themselves, which is what we want. And ideally, those last little fine tuning things we need to do, we can start fine tuning them. I think the passing game has looked pretty good to me at this point. Maybe that like wide receiver 5, 6 position, we can kind of figure out is it gonna be Taj, is it gonna be like Eskridge, like who's gonna like really secure that last spot. That'd be nice to see. But I do not expect to hear reports like we did from the last joint practice. People are like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be a disaster of a season." I don't expect that. I expect this to be pretty good, if not dominant at times, and hopefully the team can kind of lock in for that. Back to the comments from you guys, and people, of course, are asking about the joint practice. Number one question, Chris, who are you looking for during the joint practices? Now, I was going to say Jack Jones initially because, I mean, we saw the last time. He actually tweeted. This is how bad his matchups with Amon-Ra St. Brown were during the last practices. He tweeted out, yeah, man, he cooked me. Like, that's crazy. Now, he couldn't deny it. I would have said absolutely nothing. If you cook me on a football field, in a video game, on a basketball court, I'm never gonna talk about it. Like, yo, didn't you get skunked? Who? Me? Nah, I ain't happen. Yo, here's a film right here. Nah, it's just a lookalike, dog. That's not me. I'm taking that to the grave. But Jack Jones, shout out to him. He said, nah, he was cooking me, man. Like, what else can I say? I'm Russell Brown's one of the best receivers in the league. No shade there. So there's a redemption aspect to his game. This is a good matchup. I would love to see him against Brian Thomas because Amon-Ra is better than Brian Thomas today. He may not be better than him next year. That's how fast Brian Thomas can move the ranks. I mean, he finished last year. I believe he was a top wide receiver, like wide receiver 10 and above. Like he was again on an awful offense with no quarterback play whatsoever. He was awesome. Amon-Ra was on a team with a tremendous offensive weapons. Like all those guys are great. Him, Jameson, like Patrick was good. Like Laporta, like those guys are all great. So he was my initial pick, but Matthew Judon, I'm really curious to see. I think he's going to play a good amount in this game because I think they're going to try to play him into shape. I do believe that Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are both going to be either not in or on very limited time because we just don't want to get them injured. Chop should get a lot of playing time. I expect to see a lot of Chop. I think we're going to see a lot of Matthew Judon because I think he has something to prove. I mean, the whole league passed on him basically all off season. Multiple time Pro Bowler, still in his early 30s. He feels like he has something left in the tank. Played last year on a team that was awful on defense, that played in a dome in a bad division and didn't have a great year. A lot of people think he's washed. And I've always seen him to be like a very serious, like I'm about my work kind of guy. I don't see him as a giggly, aha, what's up, what's up. I see him as a dude that, I mean, you don't wear floppy sleeves at defensive end position unless that's just how you live your life. Like you're not a regular dude, right? I want to see him in his matchup because I think he wants to prove he can still be a double digit sack kind of guy. Because we didn't give him a long term deal; it was a 1 year contract. I believe because this is why I like 1 year contracts so much. He's trying to play for his final contract, which might be, let's say he has 10 sacks this year. Let's double last year. Last year he had 5.5, so let's say 11. Let's say he gets 11 sacks this year. I can see him getting a 2 year deal in the 20s, maybe like half of that guaranteed, and then like he retires at 35 with a nice little 20 million payday at the end. That's got to be what he's thinking about. He can't think I have a 4, 5, 6 year track record ahead of me. That can't be how he's thinking. Defensive ends don't play that long generally. So if he's playing for his last contract, that means he's got to go out and ball because his name recognition is big. His last season wasn't great, and the fact that no one, despite the number of teams who need pass rush in the league, which is almost every team but Philadelphia, maybe the Rams. Like, there's a couple teams who are really good on the line. Maybe Cleveland, who feel like, nah, we're pretty good here. Everybody else is like, bro, we can for sure use you, and no one picked him up, and he's not getting paid a lot of money, which tells me the league thinks he's not good. What better way to get your money? Go out there and ball out, get like a bidding war started. Like, hey, if you're a team like the Commanders next year, like the Cowboys, like the Texans, who are really going to D line, but you can always get better. Hey, you think you're a championship or bust right now? You need a little bit of more pass rush to like overcome on that defense. Here's your boy, 2 years, 25, 30 million. Like that could be where his head's at. So I think Matthew Judon is going to be on a mission this year. Again, health included, knock on wood. But I'm looking forward to see how he plays in the game because I don't know what his overall shape is like. I know he passed the physical, but I don't know what kind of like football shape he's in. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the shape, and hopefully we see him flash a couple times and make some moves because I think we add him to the other three. Those can be the four horsemen on the apocalypse on the D line. I think that's just exciting. The idea of having four pass rushers and you feel confident in all four is it's next level. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. So hopefully he comes back healthy. I know he's gonna play angry. I just want to see him put some stats on the board. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.